This was an unusual project for me because normally when I'm involved in these projects, I'm usually quite a bit more directly involved in all the aspects, the creative aspects of the show, everything from the writing to the art direction. On this, it was quite a bit different because the project was intended to be specifically not my style, and specifically 6 different anime styles. My involvement was it was almost more like a traffic cop than a producer. It wasn't like this project required as much of my creative involvement. I was still asked to give notes, but I found it very difficult to give notes on this project because if I give notes, then suddenly it becomes my point of view, and the point was to make the 6 other different points of view that were as different from mine as possible. So it was really challenging because I am very opinionated, and I gladly share them. But here I found myself having to stop myself and say, okay, I'm not going to give that note because then I want to give everybody I want to give these guys a chance to do the show their way, and just cross my fingers and hope it comes out great. And if not, I can fix it in the editing. So, and I was more involved in the post-production of it. I was required to assemble it all and do some fine-tuning on some of the editing and supervise the sound mix and the vocal tracks and the scoring. So I was very heavily involved at the end of it, but in the middle of it, not so much. The actual connections to the Batman film franchise, the live-action franchise, are kind of slim. There are settings and characters that were introduced in the first Batman film that reoccur in our movie, and then there's characters who are going to appear in bigger roles in the next Batman film that are kind of introduced here. Specifically, there's a male and female cop partner team who actually were from Greg Rucka's Gotham Central comic. They actually make their first screen appearance in our movie, and then they'll have, like I said, they'll have a bigger part in the live-action film. And I'll be really curious to see what that is, because I have no idea. As I've not read the script for Dark Knight, and I have not seen it, so I'll be curious to see what that's all about. It's so corny, but it's probably the Joker. The Joker's just the best villain, just because he's so. He's kind of like Batman in a way, in that he's so open to interpretation. You can take that character in so many different ways, and you can make him really, really funny and kind of silly, or you can make him really, really scary and psychotic, or you can do both at the same time. Preferably, that's my favorite version of Joker, is the kind who's absolutely funny, but deadly, and. Yeah, he's a great villain. I know it's just such an obvious choice. I wish I had something cooler. I wish I could say, oh yeah, Mad Hatter or somebody really obscure, Blockbuster. But the Joker, obviously. Our next project has been announced, so I can officially talk about it, as a Wonderwoman direct-to-video. It's not directly based on any pre-existing comic. It has elements of lots of different versions of Wonder Woman from her entire history, and even a little bit from the TV show, the Linda Carter TV show. There's a little bit of thematic material that's from the George Perez revamp of Wonder Woman from the late '80s. But it's not specifically an adaptation of his storyline. So it's kind of like what we did with our first Batman show. It's kind of an amalgamation of all the different things we like from all the different versions of Wonder Woman, and all in one story. So it's her origin story. I could probably tell you that Ares is the main villain, and it's pretty kick-ass. I mean, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so far it's shaping up to be one of our most action-heavy, violent of these directed videos. So it's a lot of fun. Right now, we're pretty much concentrating on some of the more marquee names, the more well-known characters. My hope is that we do these long enough, and the line continues to stay successful enough that we'll be able to start digging into some of the more less well-known characters. So some of them I find even more interesting than Batman and Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash. But Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do Jonah Hex. You know, it's like I'm a big Western fan, so I'd love to do. You know, that's not what anybody expects when you say, "Oh, DC Comics direct to video." You know, but I hope we get to that point where we can actually do a Jonah Hex movie because that would be really fun.